Most embarrassing thing you've ever said in a meeting?
We like to see our clients very little. And I meant to say little and often, and I came out with little.
That's awesome. My next guest needs absolutely no introduction. Hi, Helen Calcraft.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for joining us. It does mean a lot to me, this one. Because
Well, it's been far too long, and the treat is mine. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to see you. So Helen was my old boss, former boss, when we were at Dare MCBD, just when they merged. You're founder of Lucky Generals.
Indeed.
Bit of a legend of the industry, so thank you
Not
so
sure about
much. And you put up with me for a while, so I'm very grateful. What does after work mean to you?
On a basic level, after work means we have a chance to reconnect, and I've not seen you for so long, and I'm so happy and so proud that you're doing this amazing podcast and that you've done so amazingly, and you're now a female entrepreneur, and there aren't enough of us. So
Don't make me cry at the start, Helen. That's just...
Well, it's true. I mean, I think it's, I feel quite passionately that there are not enough women, particularly mothers, taking the plunge into entrepreneurship. And actually, it's a fantastic way to manage life and to live your life as a parent or not.
And sometimes it's a bit of an accidental experiment.
Yes.
So because you're such a titan of industry, and I know you won't like me saying that, but we're going to split this into 3 parts.
Okay.
We're going to do looking back, present day, and looking forward.
Okie dokie.
Let's do it. So looking back, you've said the best part of running your own company is being in control of your own destiny.
Yes.
I completely agree. Autonomy and freedom are beautiful, but it also comes with a lot of pressure that rests on your shoulders. How have you dealt with that over the years?
Mostly it's a wonderful thing to have your own business, and certainly it has really suited me. And like you, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I didn't wake up one day and thought I want to start an agency. Jeremy Miles, my old boss, just grabbed me at the end of a day and said, hey, do you fancy doing this? And I just said yes. I never planned to be an entrepreneur. And in fact, I never planned to start Lucky Generals either. But you're right, it does come with some pressures because you have real responsibility for people. And I think the thing that I've found both completely wonderful but also challenging is, if things are not going well, I've always felt it's very personally on the founders to take responsibility, not just for those people's jobs, but for their whole lives, because being made redundant, losing your job, feeling insecure at work, having all those worries is a terrible thing that pervades lots of people's lives, not just the person who works for you. So it is a pressure, and being successful and continuing to be successful is a pressure. And I've never been the kind of boss or leader that thinks, oh, I can rest on my laurels now and other people do things. I've always felt I've got a role to play to keep that growth and to keep that security going.
Do you think it helps that you can shoulder the burden alongside your 2 brilliant partners?
No doubt. I've been very lucky in both of the agencies that I've been in, where I've had partners with incredibly similar value sets and a sense of teamwork and team spirit and not being in it alone.
You're so lucky. I think I feel the shoulder of responsibility and I feel the weight of it because it's just me.
Absolutely.
And I think it would be beautiful to just be like, hey, let's get in a meeting room and think this through properly.
Or I'm tired, I'm not on game, I'm not well, I'm grieving, whatever it might be. Can you take the load? I think that's a huge comfort, and it is a lot harder being on your own as an entrepreneur.
What do you think it is about you, Danny and Andy, that have been such good partners for such a long period of time?
I think the most important thing is that we agree on everything important. And there is not a question in any of our minds, if one of us isn't in the room, what the 3 of us would all do on anything important. We've never had a single disagreement on anything that really mattered. We have lots of bickering and lots of disagreements on, I'm not sure I think the logo's up for long enough, well, you can shut up. We can have plenty of that going on, but actually on anything major and important, whether that's hiring or firing or, saying goodbye to a client, pulling out of a pitch, anything really that matters, we are always completely and utterly aligned.
And did you always have the same shared values from the start?
We did. We absolutely did. Obviously Andy I've worked with for nearly 30 years. On and off with a very short break. So we have worked together a long time. But when Danny arrived in our lives in 2008, that partnership was formed, and there's never been a day where we haven't been completely and utterly aligned, not just on values, which is the most important thing, but also on the work and how you get to great work and how you build relationships, what kind of people we want to work with as clients, what kind of people we want to hire, we've always been completely unified, despite being actually very different, all three of us. If you meet the three of us and you know the three of us, we're actually very different people.
I think the things that hold you together are actually warmth from all three of you.
Yes.
And you all care about people.
Yes.
And you always have, however,
I think that's true. And
I
think the other thing is we are always looking for the twinkle and looking for the giggle. When, if you've gone through things like COVID and you've gone through things like losing your largest account, or having to fire a client, or having to lose people, I think you've got to find a way to come through those things and look for the joy. And I think the three of us will never go through a single day, even when things are at their worst, without having a little moment on something. That also sustains a relationship.
And life would be so boring without that.
And too hard.
Yeah, way too hard.
Too hard.
In terms of being in control of your own destiny, you've started 2 agencies. So how have you kept things fresh and not just plugged out the same formula?
There's a number of ways that you can keep things fresh. And I think the very first of those is a kind of what I call palatable paranoia, which is you have a healthy level of paranoia so that when things are going well, you don't for a moment think, we're brilliant, we're untouchable, we've arrived, aren't we great? We don't ever have a moment where we start to believe that we've got to our destination or that we are better than other people. And when things are good is when you almost have to look around and think, what could go wrong? What could happen that will go wrong next? And what are we doing about that? And are we looking far enough ahead? And are we thinking about how to be better? And I think that's a mindset, and it's been really helpful.
I think that's incredible. That's, never resting and always looking for the next thing and bettering yourself. It's tiring though.
It is tiring, but I think it just, and I think then, so the other part of that is making sure that it's not all on your shoulders. And I think that, you've got to surround yourself both at a junior and a senior level in an agency with people who are coming up with ideas, have got an entrepreneurial spirit, and above all, don't necessarily agree with you and don't drink the Kool-Aid and believe that they're somehow part of something. I mean, we've got some people in the agency who are borderline rude and disrespectful in a really good way, because they'll go, well, I don't really like that, and I don't think that's right, and I think we should do this, and we haven't thought about that. And actually surrounding yourself by people who are surfacing disagreement and ideas is very, very healthy.
Well, isn't it? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Definitely, I love that. Yeah, absolutely right.
So working with you, I always observed that you were brilliant at cutting through to the heart of a problem rather than getting caught up in all the clutter, which I don't think I was very good at. Was that learnt behaviour?
I don't think most people are really good at cutting through the clutter. I think it is something you have to develop over a period of time and indeed consciously really work at. And I was very lucky to have a couple of mentors in the early stages of my career who really made an art form around differentiating between what's urgent and what's important. And they were Michael Bork and Andrew Robertson at AMV. I mean, 2 very different actually, but stupendous leaders who would be able to just come in and focus on the thing that really mattered, to unlock a problem, to get things moving, and to keep the whole of the agency in flow. So I was very lucky to learn from both of them. I do also think being a parent, when you've got a lot of stuff going on at home, you haven't got time to allow your day to be filled up with all the urgent things. You do realise that you have to get stuff done, because when you're getting home, there's going to be an argument about whether it's fish fingers or fish without the bread on it, and whether they're going to have any broccoli, and what time is bath time, and all the things that you then have to cope with.
They're never going to have the broccoli, are they?
Never having the
going to have
broccoli.
the broccoli.
So do we compromise with the peas, and how do we get to the broccoli? All of that stuff then kind of concentrates your mind a little bit, I think. And then I think also, because I am a new business animal, I grew up in new business. I used to always love pitching. I was new business director at Abbott Mead, and then I've taken the new business role all the way through my career. I think being in a pitch situation, really, you have to concentrate the mind.
Yeah.
What's going to go into this deck? What am I going to say to this client? Of all the information they've given me, what's the thing that's going to unlock something that is really going to transform their business, and therefore we're going to win? And I would urge anyone, even if you don't think you're very good at it, new business is a fantastic way to learn. If you're in the ad industry, put yourself on a pitch.
Everyone was scared of it because of the hours to start with, but I think we're better now. We're a little more organised, aren't we?
We are better, but I do sadly still think there's a correlation between blood, sweat and tears and winning. I think there is a kind of moment where a team of people really come together in a very intense way. But what we try and do at Lucky's is if someone's been working on a pitch, give them the time afterwards.
But that's thoughtful. And that's you putting time into understanding that people are working very hard.
Yes.
Just before you launched Lucky Generals, was there a recommitting to vows for you, Andy and Danny, where you're like, have we got the energy to do this again? Can we?
I don't think that we've ever had a moment where we've talked about or questioned our relationship. But there was a moment where I had retired from the industry and I was working as a consultant. And actually, although I loved it intellectually, I was really missing, and people always say this about advertising, but the people are fantastic. The variety, the pace, the fun, the camaraderie, the teamwork. I was missing some of that. And it was my birthday and Danny and Andy booked a table at the Wolseley. And the three of us never went for lunch. We always had tomato soup at our desks. We're very sort of, Protestant in our way, in our work ethic. And then they booked a lunch and I arrived late because I'm always late, annoyingly, to the lunch. And on the table was a bottle of red wine and a bottle of champagne. And the boys and I we never drink. So I was a bit like, this is a bit weird. Okay, it's my birthday. And then we were halfway through the lunch and they said, do you want to do a startup? And we just then laughed our heads off and giggled about it because we'd all, moved on. And it wasn't really a debate. Well, of course. And honestly, I don't think any of the three of us would have done a startup if it wasn't without all of the three of us.
And not one of you hesitated to do it all over again?
No, not at all. And I think we really had a lot of unfinished business. We're not ready to go out to pasture. We're not ready to give up. We've got a lot to give. And, fast forward 10 years, and I guess that proved to be true.
At what point have you been the happiest in your career?
I know it sounds cliche, but I would say now. I mean, I really about as happy and content as I've ever been. And we just had our 10th birthday. We took the whole company to this amazing castle in Perugia. We had the most glorious 3 days of celebration, despite the fact it poured with rain. And it was joyous. You just feel so glad you've created a culture where everyone's so happy to be together. And I honestly, genuinely, I feel the agency's in a great place. We've got amazing people. We've got huge challenges like everybody in the industry, but I feel really happy and really excited about the future.
Lucky you.
I do.
Scanning back over your career and choices, do you have any regrets?
I'm not sure that the emotion of regret is a useful one. And I think, I could look back and say, well, I regret, my role in the merger with MCBD and Dare. But if I hadn't gone through that experience, I wouldn't have learned the things that I now know, and I wouldn't have launched Lucky Generals. Yeah. But I think if I have some feeling of failure, it would be around being naive about what it takes to make a successful merger. I went into it thinking, we've got a bunch of great people. Mark's got a bunch of amazing people. We all get on like a house on fire. What's the problem? It'll be dead easy. Mm-hmm. And I went into it just kind of hoping it would be okay without really doing that paranoid work of what could go wrong here.
But you wouldn't, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you never would have known until you were doing it.
I guess not, but I don't think I, really thought this is a brand new experience and it won't, what if it's not fine? And what do I do to make sure it's fine? Right. And I think that for me was something where I let myself down. And in that way, I think we all had a part to play in it, but people didn't have the happiest period of their careers. And I always try to say, wherever I am and people are prepared to come and work for us, and it's very personal when you're a founder and when you're a leader of a business, they're coming to work for you and with you. It's your job to make sure that they are having their salad days. I think in Dare, that was very, very hard when we did the merger for people.
Well, you still made a difference to me.
Oh, thank you.
And
I'm
I
really
think
glad.
Quite a few other people.
I'm really glad.
So you did your job there. I have a regret.
Do you?
I should have taken that job at Lucky, shouldn't I?
Well, if you ever want to come back, darling, the door is wide open to you.
I don't think I remember account handling anymore. What's your weakness?
Caring too much what people think.
Oh, me too. Do you ever stop that?
No.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong condition.